Hey everybody, and welcome back. This portion of our video is going to be talking about feedback. We're going to talk about good feedback and we're going to talk about bad feedback. We're going to talk about why feedback is so important, and we're also going to talk about some rapport building and what makes the classes the best that we can get them at. So let's start with our good feedback. As you see here on our slide, we have some examples of good feedback. Let's take a look at these examples and see how you can mimic them when you are inside of your classroom. The correct pronunciation of heart sounds like heart. This is going to be an excellent source to use when we are trying to get across our feedback to our students. Make sure that you don't pronounce it like hurt, which means when you feel pain. The difference between these words, especially in another language, can be very confusing. So please ensure that you are giving feedback that is complete and precise, especially when you are talking about pronunciation. Let's look at another example here. The correct way to say your stomach is used to kill food is your stomach is used to digest food. In this particular sense, kill and digest are two different words which mean two completely different things. But because when someone doesn't understand them as well, it could be misconstrued as using the same word. Let's take a look at some bad examples of feedback. Work on your pronunciation, which was off throughout all today's classes. Well, we know that. But what can we do to ensure that our pronunciation is working best? This is something that you want to be very specific with in your classroom as well as in your feedback. You did well today. You need to improve your speaking. You had good effort. You did a good job. While this is all really important things to say in your class, we have to give them a little bit of understanding as to what they did wrong or what they even did right in this class. So let's go ahead and be more specific with our feedback as it is our guarantee to our parents that we are going to help the students the best that we can. So you might ask yourself, why feedback? Well, feedback is 100% necessary. In order for you to move forward in anything, you have to know whether you're doing a good job or you're doing a bad job. So our students' progress actually depends on it. It has to be specific to each student. So therefore, no generic comments, as I mentioned to you before, as in your pronunciation was way off today. Please also note that feedback has to be completed within 24 hours of the lesson. Otherwise, you will not be paid for that feedback. So please make sure that you are doing it within the extra 10 minutes that you are allotted in between classes if you have time, as we do pay you for that additional time. Next, let's talk about some experienced classes and some regular classes. You might have heard me mention in the live training session a little bit about experienced courses. Experienced courses are classes with potential students. They are not necessarily yours yet, and for that purpose, they are considered to be trial runs. If your performance is less than satisfactory in these trial runs, you could lose a student and VIPX could lose a client. Because these are not regular students yet, they are usually more than likely students who are trying out the program to see if it's going to be a good fit for them. And in turn, the parents have checked your profile and they are trying you out to see if you're going to be a good fit for their student. Remember, it is a 20-minute class used to make a solid impression. So in other words, we need to show the student within those 20 minutes and the parent why we could be a good fit for us and for them. You only have one chance to impress the parents. So this is your chance to impress them and to make it count. Once you have made it count and the student and the parent have both agreed to choose you as your teacher, you will now have them as regular students. This is where the 40 minutes will come into play. But in order for you to get there, rapport building and making that connection is going to be very important. Please remember to take at least the first 5 minutes of your lesson to build that rapport with that student. Find out a little bit about them. You. Give them some information about you too. Make them feel comfortable with you. If they are comfortable and you make them smile and you make them laugh, they're going to want to come back to you. And that's really important. That's half the battle, especially in a class that's going to be 40 minutes long. You don't want the student to sit there and stare at you the whole time. So making that kind of rapport and connection with the student can definitely be worth a great lesson and 40 minutes of a lot of fun. So trust me, rapport building is going to be something that you're absolutely going to want to be adamant on. Get to know your student with those introductions, as I mentioned to you before. Don't only ask questions to the student, but also tell them a little bit about yourself. You can tell them where you're from. You can tell them about your family. You can tell them about your hobbies. That's great. But in turn, learn about that student as well. The talk time that we would like for you to work on is an 80-20 talk time. 80% of the time you're talking, 20% of the time the student is talking. It's about a 10 to 15 minute minimum. But if you built that kind of rapport and connection with your student, they're going to want to talk a lot more than 10 to 15 minutes. Make at least 3 corrections during your class. This is going to be very important. Because we offer feedback, if you don't give enough feedback and you don't make enough connections throughout the class, there's not going to be feedback to give them. So please ensure that you are taking a good notebook with some good notes so you can put that in your feedback, because we are required to do at least 3 corrections throughout our lesson. Also, one more really important thing. Farewells are really important. So take the last 5 minutes of your class while you're doing your wrap up to really let the student know that you enjoyed the time that you spent with them. Let them know and encourage them to sign up for your classes. This is the difference between getting an EC course and getting them as your regular student. And if the student had fun, not only do you get to feel excited about a great lesson, but you'll also get a hint on whether they may or may not come back to you. But please also note that if a student doesn't come back to you and you had a great lesson, it may not be the case that they didn't like you. It may just be that their time didn't work out for you, or them for that matter. So please remember, EC classes are very, very important, just as much as feedback. And if you are giving effective feedback, your students are going to want to come back to you because it shows that you're a great teacher. So in the next portion of our lesson, we will actually talk a little bit more about your next plan of action here with us for live training. So thanks so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about rapport building and feedback. We'll see you soon. Bye.